the moment that matters. There's a moment that changes everything. You're sitting in a police car, or standing on the side of the road, or in an interrogation room, and the officer looks at you and says, "You're not under arrest, you're not in trouble, I just want to ask you a few questions." Your shoulders drop, you feel relief, you think, okay, this is fine, I can just clear this up. And then sometimes days later, sometimes weeks later, you're sitting across from me in my office and you realize the biggest mistake of your life was believing those words. Today, I'm about to share with you what has literally saved lives, not figuratively, literally, because people who understand this one concept have walked free, and people who didn't understand it, they're serving sentences they shouldn't be serving. The trap. Making it personal. Here's what keeps me up at night as an attorney. The number of innocent people I know could have won their cases who talked themselves into prison because they didn't understand one simple distinction. A cop says, "You're not under arrest," but you actually are. And I'm not being dramatic. These aren't legal word games. This is the most critical concept that separates people who protect themselves from people who destroy their own futures. Let me tell you why. The fundamental problem. When an officer tells you you're not under arrest, they're using a legal loophole that was invented by the system not for your protection, but against you. Here's the truth. There's a difference between what they say you are and what you actually are. And that gap is where your rights disappear. Think about it. Oh, if they truly weren't taking you into custody, why can't you leave? If they truly weren't charging you, why are you sitting in an interrogation room? If they truly weren't suspicious of you, why did they stop you in the first place? The answer is you are under arrest, or at minimum, you're being detained. And that matters. That matters a lot. Real case. I want to tell you about a client I'll call David. David got pulled over for a broken taillight. The officer said, "I'm going to bring you down to the station just to ask you a few questions about something in your neighborhood. You're not under arrest or anything. We just need to clear some things up." David was cooperative. He was honest. He thought, I didn't do anything wrong. I'll just tell them what I know. The officer sat across from him and said those exact words again. "You're not under arrest. I just want your side of the story." David talked for 45 minutes. He explained everything, and in those 45 minutes, he accidentally said something, just one thing, that the officer could twist and use against him. One phrase, out of context. 6 months later, David was charged with a crime. Not because he did it, but because his own words, taken in isolation, made it look like he did. If David had understood what I'm about to teach you, he would have said nothing, and he'd be home right now instead of fighting a case that destroys his family's savings. The wake-up call, the emotional turn. This is the moment where I need you to understand something deeper than just don't talk to police. It's not about distrust. And it's not about being disrespectful. It's about understanding that police have a job and your job is to protect yourself. A police officer's job is to build a case. It might be the right case. It might be the wrong case, but their job is to gather information and make an arrest. That's what they're trained to do. That's what they're measured on. Your job is different. Your job is to survive this moment intact with your freedom, your reputation, and your future still in your hands. And right now, you're not doing your job because you're believing what they're telling you instead of understanding what they're doing to you. The legal framework. Made simple. Okay, so here's how this actually works legally. There are 3 levels of police contact. Level 1, a consensual encounter. You can walk away, you can say no, but you can leave. This is like a cop chatting with you at a grocery store. No obligation. Level 2, a detention. You cannot leave, but you're not under arrest. They have reasonable suspicion of a crime. This can last anywhere from a few minutes to, well, longer than it should. The courts say it should be brief, but brief is vague. Level 3, an arrest. You definitely cannot leave. They have probable cause. They read you your rights, usually. There's paperwork, there's formality. Here's the trap. A cop can tell you you're in level 1 or level 2, but you're actually in level 2 or level 3. How do you know the difference? Here's the test. Can you actually leave? If you ask, am I free to go? And the answer is no. Even if they haven't arrested you formally, you're being detained. You're already in custody. And once you're in custody, everything changes. The consequence. Why this matters. Here's what happens when you don't understand this. You think you're just answering questions. You think you're being helpful. You think cooperation will make this go away. But what's actually happening is you're waiving your rights. You're giving up your protection. You're walking into a room with a trained investigator whose job is to get you to confess to something even if you're innocent. And here's the thing about innocent people. They talk. Guilty people stay quiet. So cops know that innocent people are more likely to explain themselves, to justify, to ramble, to say things that sound suspicious even when they're not. They're counting on you thinking you're not under arrest. That false confidence is what destroys you. Now the solution, finally. So here's what you actually do. This is the answer to your problem. This is how you protect yourself. The moment a cop tries to take you anywhere to the station, to the interrogation room, or even if you're not sure if you can leave, you ask one question. Am I free to leave or am I being detained? That's it. That's the question. And here's the critical part. The officer has to answer truthfully. If they say, yes, you're free to leave, then you leave. You don't run, you don't be dramatic, you just calmly walk away and get a lawyer. If they say, no, you're being detained, then you've just forced them to admit what they were already doing. You've moved the situation from level 1/2 confusion into level 3 clarity. And now you say these words. I want to speak to an attorney, and I'm not answering any questions without one present. That's it. You're done. You don't say another word. Why this works? Why does this work? Because of the 6th Amendment. The moment you invoke your right to an attorney, police must stop questioning you. It's not optional. It's not a suggestion. It's the law. If they continue questioning you after you've asked for a lawyer, anything you say is potentially inadmissible in court. Your words become worthless as evidence. And if you were detained illegally, if that cop couldn't actually justify keeping you there, a good attorney will challenge the entire detention. Everything that came from that detention gets thrown out. So by asking, am I free to leave? You're essentially forcing the cop to either let you go, you win. That's admit you're detained and read you your rights. Now you're protected. Continue without reading your rights, which can be used against them later. Real case number 2, the victory. I had another client, Maya, who experienced this exact scenario. She was brought to a police station for questioning about a theft at her workplace. The detective said, "You're not under arrest. You're just helping us figure out what happened." But Maya had watched one of my videos. She knew better. She asked, "Am I free to go?" The detective paused. And then here's the key. He hesitated. He said, "Well, I'd prefer if you stayed to talk about this." "That's not what I asked," Maya said. "Am I free to go?" Another pause. "No, I need you to stay." "Then I want a lawyer," Maya said. The detective tried to keep talking. It'll just take a few minutes." "I want a lawyer," Maya repeated. Now here's what happened. That case against Maya fell apart. Why? Because the detective had detained her without probable cause and without reading her rights. He was trying to use this gray area, this you're not under arrest zone to get her to confess. But Maya knew the distinction, so she protected herself. She was never charged. The hard truth. Now I need to be real with you about something. The system depends on people not knowing this. The system depends on you being confused. The system depends on you thinking cooperation is the same as protection. When you know your rights, you become harder to manipulate. You become harder to trick. You become a problem for the system, and that's not because the system is all bad. That is because any system benefits when people don't know how to protect themselves. So here's what I need you to understand. Knowing your rights isn't about being difficult. It's about being intelligent. It's about understanding that there is an adversarial element to a police interrogation, even if the officer seems nice. The nicest person in the world can put you in prison if you give them enough ammunition. What to do right now? So here's what I need you to do. First, watch this video again. Internalize the question, am I free to leave? Second, tell everyone you know. Share this with your friends, your family, your kids, because your kids might encounter the police before you do, and they need to know this. Third, if you are ever in this situation, stay calm. Don't get angry, don't get defensive. I just asked the question because emotions make cops defensive and defensive cops make mistakes. Calmness makes cops certain, and certain cops answer honestly. Fourth, the moment you ask for a lawyer, you're done talking. Not, I might need a lawyer, not, can I think about it? The statement is, I want to speak to an attorney. Done. Conversation over. Silence. And then this is critical. You don't say another word until your attorney is there. Not to explain, not to justify, not because you're being rude, because your lawyer speaks now, not you. Deeper. Truth, the soul part. Here's what I need you to really understand beneath all of this. The fact that you're even watching this video tells me something about you. It tells me you're worried. It tells me you're trying to protect yourself or someone you love. It tells me you know something isn't right about the world, even if you can't articulate it. And you're right to be worried because the stakes are real. But here's the thing. Worrying without knowledge is just anxiety. Knowledge without action is just information. But worry plus knowledge plus action, that's power. You have more power in that interrogation room than you think. You just have to use it before you give it away. If you're facing charges right now, or if you've been questioned by police and you're concerned about what you said, you need to speak with a criminal defense attorney immediately. Some of you watching this have a narrow window to challenge what happened to you. That window is closing. Don't wait. Comment below. Have you ever been in a situation where you weren't sure if you were under arrest or being detained? What happened? Your story might help someone else in this community make better decisions. And if this video saved you from talking yourself into trouble, please like and subscribe. Because the algorithm controls what information reaches people, and I'm committed to making sure people understand their rights before they end up in that interrogation room, not after. Your future isn't decided by the cops. It's decided by you, by the choices you make in moments when you're scared and confused. So choose wisely. Choose knowledge. Choose protection. I'll see you in the next one.